Hello, people. My name is Earl. Trying to relax here, having a nice cigarette and a cup of coffee. And I do not care if you like it or not. If you want to learn, I am here to teach you people a few things. I want to discuss an assortment, an assembly of things here about how hoaxes in general have been taught to all of you. I'm going to start with Egyptology and what you people believe about Giza, Egypt. Everything you have been taught about Giza, Egypt is hoax. It's for the purpose of making money. To get to the point of where the hoax is here, yes, the Giza Pyramid and the Sphinx, for example, those things exist in Giza, Egypt, but those things were built approximately the year 1890. Well, hear me again, 1890. Which would be 125 years ago, approximately. And this was built by people that had the same ability that was had, like here in the United States, for example. Do a Google image search or Bing image search and look at a picture of Manhattan Island. Manhattan City, between the year 1890 and 1910. You will see a huge concrete jungle of a city, and it also had underground tunnels made of concrete, just like the ones they're showing you in Giza, Egypt today that are supposed to be so extraordinary. So, based on this knowledge, do not take on the attitude or be ignorant enough to take on the attitude that a comment I was in about a comment of a YouTube video I was in about a year ago, and a guy said they didn't even have the earth equipment back then in the year 1890. Of course they did, people, because they built Manhattan City. Only an idiot could not put these two things together and know this. Okay, now, others might try to argue, say, well, what about the eroded stone on the back of the Sphinx? That's not complicated, people. I mean, because, okay, here we go. These so-called scientists and physicists and archaeologists, they say that it could have rained in that part of the world 8,500 years ago or 10,500 years ago. People, even at that soonest estimate, which would have been 8,500 years ago, when the rain supposedly had to stop, like 5,000 years ago, in that 5,000 years, the water eroded stone would have become wind eroded stone in 5,000 years. So that that doesn't fit at all. Any physicist knows that that is not true. Okay, water eroded stone was simply used on the back of the Sphinx, because whenever they made the long bridge that goes from Cairo, Egypt to the area by Giza, Egypt, there was water eroded stone that had to be removed by dynamite. They simply used some of that, carried it on barges along that area, and used it for the back of the Sphinx. And it was also to create the illusion that there had to be some great, incredible mystery. There's no mystery there, people. Not only that, but I know several people into masonry. They can tell that the Giza Pyramid is made out of concrete. All of those blocks. And that was poured into thin wooden molds, and then when that block would dry, they would simply pour into the mold on top of it. That's why it's no mystery why that there's not a 10,000th clearance between the gaps. Of course not, because it was poured in, you sillies. I mean, these are realities. I mean, now take the camera. The camera, I have read in some places it was invented in 1848, other places 1852. Okay, and remember this, because it also applies to some other hoaxes of our history that I want to touch base on today, or tonight if it's not for you. But, okay, considering that, there is no photograph of before the year 1890 in Giza, Egypt. So people, you cannot know that that is true. But here is something I am aware of from people. 3 Jewish people that are literally were born in Israel, that have told me there are pictures that those people have from around 1880s that were taken by Elites, that the Giza Pyramid and the Sphinx is simply not there. That was actually an area that settlers passed through that area, but nobody actually ever built. You know, so most of that is just hoaxing. It's to make money. And question yourself, in the United States of America, why would our dollar bill suddenly, after the year 1910, have a picture of the Giza Pyramid on the back with a little eye above it? Think. Because of the same people that built that apply in the way of a group of people that are the money controllers of the world. Now, I'm going to let you figure that out, because I don't need a lawsuit coming after me from people that are more powerful than I am. So you can figure that out on your own. All the pieces will fit together if you take into consideration what I am saying. I am not going to tell you how I know this, but here is the value. What I'm going to do is tell you to consider it. Because once you think about what I have told you, and you take into consideration Manhattan City, you can only know that I am right. And the average person did not own a camera or use a camera until probably 1910. Now, I'm saying the average person. Now, a person of wealth probably would have been running around with a camera in the year 1870, but not your average individual. It's just simply not so based on realistic averages. Now, let's take King Tut's tomb. Alright, now people, you've got a man in the 1920s, he's a rich guy, you know, led a sheltered life, lived in a bubble. He could push a little button in his bathroom and have toilet paper delivered to him. But he's going to supposedly go over here to Egypt and find this tomb in 1923 or whatever. No, people, because if that had had any realness to it at all, you take hundreds of years. Even in the 1800s, you don't think all the curiosity and the grave seekers wouldn't have found that, but then a silly rich man is going to find it instead? No, not hardly. Furthermore, anyone that is degreed in advanced physics can tell you wooden objects could not last inside that tomb for 3,500 years. It's not so, folks. Those things were created, the golden sarcophagus, and those items were made in the 1920s and put there to make money. Okay? The rich man was simply an investor. They created that hoax because they knew for year after year after year that they could make money in Egypt, in any museum. They're going to make a lot of money. And as far as that corpse, that's silly. That's one of two things. It's either made out of wax, the supposed corpse, or it's just a corpse from a grave that was about 10 years old at that particular time. They created that hoax in the 1920s. That's all that is, people. Okay. And then, so you might ask me from there, well, then why did they say the DNA results produce that? People, you've got to consider the source. When you offer to pay somebody an X amount of dollars, or say, we're going to pay you royalties or shares if you say this, do you think they're going to say, oh no, I can only tell the truth, I am refusing your money? When they know that they could use $30,000 to pay off their mortgage or buy that automobile or SUV they always wanted, of course they're going to agree to do it. The same as any licensed physicist, scientist, archaeologist, they are also going to agree to be a part of the hoax because they need money. They don't care about you. They care about themselves, and in many cases, themselves and theirs, meaning their wife, their children, their mom and dad, their relatives. But with people, it doesn't go beyond that. They care about themselves. So you don't believe in someone just because they throw a label at you. You know, it's like I can be a licensed auto mechanic. If Chrysler Plymouth offers me $10,000 to do a commercial and say the new Pentastar aluminum engine with 4 overhead cams is the best thing, I'm going to do it because people are going to be stupid anyway. Of course I'm going to do it, but if I'm not being paid for it, I'm going to say don't get a piece of junk like that because it's going to be a cost factor. You know, the world's not going to feed me, in other words, and the world's not going to feed you, or I don't guess, unless you're very lucky. So of course a person, based on this knowledge, they're going to do just about anything for the sake of money, you know, despite moralistic principle issues. Now let's move on to Coral Island. Here we go again. Coral Castle in Florida. This was made in the 1920s. Okay, it was said this man levitated these stones and these items to build that. Ridiculous, because it is in recorded records that no one was willing to come within 2 square miles of that area. Heavy equipment was used, people. And if you go look at Coral Castle, this also proves that the Giza Pyramid is no older than 120 years old, because why does the stones at Coral Castle look as aged and similar to the Giza Pyramid? Which also proves that. See, it goes, logic will go hand in hand. Lies will cause mystery in this life. You know, anytime something doesn't make sense, or if it's a mystery in this life, it's because it's a lie. When something is the truth, the pieces will fit together. It is as simple as that. Okay, now let's talk about the moon. Alright, here's where I want to talk to you now. First off, I go along with Kennedy or whoever's decision it was to create that hoax. And I'll tell you why I go along with it. Because people, it was for the defense of our well-being, for that hoax to be created, to make people believe that we could do things that we can't do. Because, like, let's say you live in a house, you've got 2 daughters and you've got a wife. All right, but you have to go to work, or you have to go out to sea, and sometimes you're gone for a month, and they're there alone in the house. All right, if there were some bad people that lived down the street, creepy looking guys that were, you know, not too legitimate with bad character. If someone had them believing you had guns around, or your daughters and your wife were marksmen and they knew how to shoot, and they thought that you could fight like Bruce Lee and do karate, you wouldn't go tell them that that was false. You would allow them to believe that. Why? For your defense. For your defense. You know, it's like the animal that growls, you know, when it's scared and its fangs show or whatever. It does this, you know, for the sake of hoping that the bluff will work. When the moon hoax was created in the U.S., the purpose of that was to bluff other countries so that they would think we had more power than we actually had, which it's only logical, because all is fair in love and war. I don't know how many of you have heard that phrase. All is fair in war once war occurs or happens. But so I can understand why that hoax was created. But for anyone to not know this is a hoax, and you have any sort of an education, and you were at the average age of 30, I would say, you're being stupid if you keep believing that humans walked on the moon. No, they did not. Because it's not possible, people. I mean, I could go into the details, but I worked for a sub-sea company that is worldwide in the 80s and 90s before I retired. Okay, engineers came through the office where I worked every day. And of course, you know, they were not outspoken individuals. You know, they would not openly discuss this, but those that I knew personally, if you were to tell them they went to the moon in '69 and they saw that cop seal, do you know that they would laugh at you? They would laugh at you. Because it's ridiculous. You know, I have been to NASA. I live 14 miles from NASA. I live in South Houston, Texas. And I can look at that. That is absolutely ridiculous. For anyone to believe that that was staged, people. Hollywood did this. And it's like I say, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but the fact that people still believe that till this day, it's sad, because it's only going to hold society back. People, we must evolve. We must evolve. You know, there are people that are like me that have my knowledges. And I'm not going to tell you, I don't belong to any religious group. I do not belong to any, you know, crazy political group or any of those things. Now, I do believe in Almighty God and Jesus Christ. And you can get your wisdom from that. Because there are wise people, and a lot of people are put here to teach others. And you can argue about what I say, you can hate me or say this guy's crazy, but eventually you're going to find out that I'm right. Because we are all eternal entities, not our physical body, but spiritual. We are all eternal. Also, I mean, this is something that's going to throw y'all another deal. And this isn't based on religion, so hear me out. There was never any dinosaurs. There was never any dinosaurs. This too was a hoax. Because how come no one had a dinosaur skull or dinosaur bone left over in a house from the 1820s? The hoax was created after people had the ability to use wax and ceramics and plastic to make these things. They are not real. Not only that, but any person that is licensed in forensics, that works in homicide, like for legal, they know that dinosaurs never existed. Because people's bones cannot last that long. It can't. These things are fictitious. They were created to put these things in museums to make money off of people. What you need to do is forget what you've been told and start believing reality. Also, here's another thing. People believe in all of these so-called presidents, a Columbus that sailed over here. I'm going to be blunt. Bullshit. You know what Columbus is? An elite person trying to govern a group of people, to trust them, had an artist paint a portrait and to tell people this is what happened. Same as many presidents of the past. Those people never existed, people. They're paintings done by artists. Don't you know what an artist is? An artist paints what they imagine, or they will paint what would sell the best, or they're going to paint what a person pays them to paint. It's like, paint me a picture of the devil with horns. Yeah, even if they're religious, if you pay them enough, they're going to paint that picture, but that doesn't mean that what they paint exists. So why would you believe it? If you were going to court right now, would you want to be convicted based on a picture an artist drew of a supposed crime you were supposed to have committed? Huh? So why do you people believe that? The way this country was founded or worked within or grew is the same as any other place. It's to where settlers came here. It was people, boats, ships, whatever have you, from other places. They defected from their own land. They could have defected for good cause. Or maybe they were just curious and wanted to find better. But, you know, it wasn't no glorious person. As far as the Columbus, this is something that was painted for you people to see, to give you a pretty picture. Something to live for, something to worship, like, oh, this wonderful person, Columbus, and this man in stockings with white hair with a ribbon in his hair called George Washington, you know. People, camera didn't exist back then. Remember I told you to remember that at the first of this video? Camera did not exist back then. But anyway, I hope I have helped some of you to see logic. It's like this. If you don't believe anything I've told you, whether it takes 50 years from now, another 100 years from now, or 200 years from now, you're only going to look back. If this video still exists like in 100 years from now, it is my knowledge that people that look back on it, they're going to say, this man in 2015, he knew this and these people wouldn't listen to him. Wake up, people. Wake up. But anyway, I hope you all have a great day or a great evening. And remember, treat people good, because if you are positive, you will get more positive results back. If you do negative, you're going to get negative results back. It is as simple as that. And you know what the answer is in this life? It's actually very simple, but people think it is so complex. It's actually believe in God, believe in Jesus Christ, and learn to love, and don't have anger, don't have hatred. But anyway, later, and may God bless you all. Amen.